And joining us now, Georgia's Republican Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger. He's in Cambridge, Massachusetts this morning after making an appearance at the Harvard Kennedy School Institute of Politics. And it's good to have you on board this morning.
Mr. Secretary, great to have you there. Georgia boy going uptown. Okay, at Harvard. Yeah, exactly. Mr. Secretary, you have seen some twists and turns since 2020. Let's start, though, by talking about Georgia. There are a lot of people that had been critical of the laws in Georgia, talking about Jim Crow 2.0. Atlanta lost the All-Star game because of a bill that we here on Morning Joe think that MLB didn't even read. Stacey Abrams and others wanted the All-Star game to be there. But a lot of criticism, and yet you look at the numbers this past week, pretty remarkable. Talk about what you saw in Georgia.
Well, we had a record. We have just a record turnout. It was bigger than what we had in 2018. We had short lines. Our average wait time in lines was about 2 minutes in the afternoon, tracking at 3 minutes. The longest on the leaderboard was 14 minutes. Check-in time, when you got to the front of the line, was 47 seconds. It was just a very smooth process. We had to work hard with the counties to keep those lines short, make sure everyone had the opportunity to vote. In Georgia, you can vote no excuse absentee voting, 17 days of early voting, and then election day. So we give voters the choice, and voters responded. And we had a very calm, smooth, well-attended, good turnout election.
And what can be expected with the runoff that's happening in Georgia between Senator Raphael Warnock and, of course, Herschel Walker? Will that go smoothly?
Yes, it will. We've been working with the counties. It's a tighter schedule. It's a 4-week runoff period. Ballots have been built, and people can request their absentee ballots, so that process has happened. And then early voting starts right after Thanksgiving, the Monday after. So we'll have 5 days of early voting and Election Day, and then no excuse absentee voting. We expect more than likely about half the voters will come back out to vote. I was in a runoff 4 years ago, and I know we had about 1.5, 1.6 million people show up for that. That's down ballot, obviously. This election is much more important, even though it's not the control of the Senate. But we still expect, we'll prepare the counties for large numbers.
Mr. Secretary, good morning. You won re-election again with relative ease this time, despite the fact you've been through a lot in that state. Obviously, we've all heard the phone call where you had to listen to Donald Trump ask you to find the votes to give him the state of Georgia in the 2020 election. And the reason I ask you that is, what do you think is the lesson to other Republicans? You are a Republican through and through. You've said before you voted for Donald Trump, you supported him, but you were not going to go so far as to betray your oath and to try to flip that state to Donald Trump. There are a lot of Republicans who are afraid to stand up to Donald Trump. What is the lesson in your victory about what you can say to Donald Trump and what you can stand up to?
Well, I think Mitch McConnell hit the nail on the head when he said candidate quality. And that quality really is talking about character, integrity, basic honesty, and the ability to have civil discourse. And then, quoting Reagan, to be able to speak kindly. I think people are tired of the vitriol. They want people to get the job done and focus in on what their issues are. So I think that there's a big place for that, and candidates that ran in that lane did very well on Election Day.
Now, hey, Mr. Secretary, let's talk about controversy that is brewing in Georgia about, I guess, this Saturday holiday. A lot of people say it's a holiday commemorating Robert E. Lee's birthday. Well, it was up until 2015, and then I think it was Nathan Dill who signed a law to change that. But it is a Georgia state holiday. It didn't make as much of a difference when you had, I think it was 9 weeks 2 years ago. It's compressed to about 4 weeks now. So Democrats are saying we really need that day. What we've been saying here time and again is if you got a problem with the laws, talk to the state legislature. Because they're the ones who make the laws. I'm curious, is there anything that you can do at this late point to make voting on Saturday available, or is it too late in the process?
we got an interpretation from the Attorney General's office, and we follow their directives. And so really it's next session, the General Assembly can then go ahead and look at what tweaks we need to have on election law. We have very few looking at the success we had this past election. But if that's something that the General Assembly wants to look at, then that's really where it'll have to happen. It'll be post-election, because we have to follow the law. And I think I've shown that I'm going to follow the law, follow the Constitution, and the Department of Laws, which is the Attorney General's office, gives us clear directives on what the law is.
And finally, how important was it that secretaries of state that were election deniers got defeated across America?
I think the voters spoke very clearly that they want people that'll be honest, that'll accept the results, accept the will of the people. In Georgia, we've shown that we have honest and fair elections. And look, many people don't understand the process. Each state has different processes. But if you look at how fast we got our results done and how accurate they've been, we're going to be doing an audit of a statewide race. But we're going to show everyone that we had honest, fair, and accurate elections. And we want voters to have confidence in the process. But there are a lot of people that are just casting dispersions on the process, and it's not helpful for our democracy.
No. Georgia's Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, thank you for being on today, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.